Okay, moving right along. We have composited creatures, we have composited landscapes, we have composited creatures in landscapes. Now what we're going to need is your clean PNG cutout of your creature. And what we are going to do with this assignment is use that creature silhouette to create our own cloud that suggests our creature. And we're going to paint our own background. So that's the creature. This is the cloud suggested by the creature. That's the creature. That'd be a really weird cloud, right? So you have to be creative. Kind of break it up. So the idea is we can all look at the sky. We have these big skies in Texas. You can often kind of see animals, see things as the clouds change. They just suggest the creature. So the challenge here is to make something that's not just suggestive of the creature you've designed, which really depends a lot on the shapes, but also is believable as a cloud. So if I showed you this photo, I don't think any of you would think it was heavily doctored. And then if I show you this creature, say, oh yeah, that cloud does look like that creature. So that's what we're going for. And so it's really paying attention to edges and lighting and subtlety. And we've mentioned before how difficult it is to work with white, things that are colored white, because they can take on warm, cool, pink, purple, and you're going to see that a lot in using different cloud references. So why I show you these past student examples is there's a lot of different types of clouds. So for instance, these clouds are very far away, and we're just seeing the edge of a much bigger cloud system. And that worked for this creature because of its kind of scaly texture. Whereas this cloud is nice and puffy and up close, lower atmosphere, and it stretches out and works well to make that shape. This one is wispy, further up in the atmosphere, being pulled apart. These spindly legs are kind of disconnected and like contrails. This one's coming out of a much larger cloud bank. This one is almost more like a cloud created in a test tube, you know. So on and on and on. You have to be pretty creative in how you go about this. And you have the option whether you want to put your creature reference in there or not. It's your portfolio. Now to do this well requires first that you know how to really control your layers and your assets. So let's start this by basically making a cookie cutter out of our second assignment. So I start by going to assignment 2, and instead of opening up the Photoshop document, you know, the PSD that has all its different components, I'm going to open up in Photoshop the PNG, the one that I uploaded to PhotoBucket. And if you saved it correctly, that PNG, when you open it in Photoshop, should have no background. It should be just empty space and a clean cutout. It should also be a large resolution. So mine is 16 by 13 inches by 350 pixels per inch. As long as it's at least 8 by 10 by 300 pixels per inch, you're meeting the requirements. Okay, so now that I have that, now I'm looking at the overall shape of my creature from head to toe. You want to also show your creature in your cloud from head to toe. And I need to collect some cloud reference. So I'm going to go to a Google image search and look for clouds. So it's been a while since we've done a Google image search. There are lots of clouds, but we're going to be using these pixels for our own artwork at a high resolution. So we need to go to Tools, and we need to go to Size, and we're going to go to larger than 6 megapixels at least. And the first cloud reference we want is the big overall reference that kind of shows us the texture and the quality of our creature. And so I'm thinking my creature is kind of like these clouds. They have a clear light source. It's not like that weird cloud. So this one's going to be useful, and I'll open that in a new tab. That one's going to be useful. This one's useful. That's basically an example of our project. We just want it to look like a creature now. This one looks perfect for his back plates. But I want one really kind of big one. Big cloud reference that I can use. This might work. And I'm not looking for black and white photos because the color is going to be helpful. This one might work. All right, so now I've pulled a bunch of those. They're all kind of the same quality of cloud, lit in a similar way. I'm going to make a folder off to the side here. I'm going to call it cloud reference. This is for assignment 4. I'm going to check the quality of each image. Very nice. Now remember what we learned about copyright law. Even though these people are not going to recognize their cloud photos, they own the copyright to them. It is their own creative work. Just because I'm finding it through a Google image search does not mean I have the rights to use it. So we are using their clouds, but it's incumbent upon us to transform them. To take this kind of thing and transform it into something that suggests a creature. And of course, we want to improve upon them as well. Make them even more visually interesting. That's just a beautiful cloud. Look at that. Yeah, a lot of us can use the same cloud reference, but we'll be using it in very different ways. Okay, so this is kind of a big overall cloud. That's nice and huge. And that's going to be kind of my biggest reference. It has the most texture. See, that one's just too small. These ones are just too far away. They might be useful for other people, but for me, there's kind of too much going on in them. I want my cloud to be a little simpler. So how many references should you have? I would say at least 5, even though we're going to do a lot of other things besides combining reference to make them our own. So now I have these 5 references. I want to identify the one that's largest. It means it has the largest amount of cloud texture in it. And that's this one. And that's the one I'm going to move into my Photoshop file. So this is my assignment 2 PNG. Now I'm going to bring in that really big cloud reference on top of it as a smart layer. And I'm going to stretch that cloud now. You can roll it out in all directions. I'm not holding down shift. It doesn't matter if it distorts or not. It's like rolling out dough. If I need to warp it, I can even do that. I can rasterize it, transform it, warp it, stretch it like that, and like that, and like that. Okay, now I want to move this big cloud layer underneath my creature. And then I want to position it so that my creature overlaps it entirely. So if I turn my creature into a cookie cutter, I want it to only cut out cloud, not have any bits of blue sky. All right, So now I go to my creature layer. It's nicely cut out. There's no little debris. I use my magic wand with a tolerance of 32. Notice my tolerance is almost always 32. I have contiguous turned off because I want to get all these little undercuts as well. And I'm going to select the empty space around my creature. Photoshop's very good at selecting empty space. Then I'm going to say refine edge. I'm going to shift the edge a little bit, feather it a little bit just to soften it. Not too much, and not smooth it too much, but just soften it. And the preview will show you how it's going to cut in. So if you see around the little whiskers there, which were such a pain to cut out, right? I'm going to use the refine edge to soften those a little bit. So now I hit OK. And what is selected is what you see in the preview that wasn't pure white. So now only the background is selected. I'm going to swap that selection. Switch it from being the outside to being the inside. And I do that by going to select inverse. So the only thing that changed, I saw the little dancing ants on the outside before, and when I do select inverse, it moves it just to the inside. Now I turn off the eyeball for my layer. And notice that my selection is still there. This is the new skill. Because I have that selection active, those ants are dancing, now I can actually change my layer. And my selection will move to that new layer. Now what I want to do is duplicate from this layer this selection. So I hit Command J. And then I turn off the background. So that's how you turn your creature into a cookie cutter, cut it out of cloud material. Now I need to paint a sky behind it. And the way I like to do it is make a new blank layer underneath your cloud cutout. Just so you can see this, I want to be able to see it in everyone's PSD. I'm going to label it with blue color, and I'm going to call it Painted Sky. Because for the first time, we're going to be painting our own pixels. But we'll start very easy. So when we paint, we're not just going to do a flat color. That would be the easiest. I could just pick a blue from like my blue swatches and then just paint with the paint bucket a flat blue color. That looks okay. But we're going to do one step more complicated than that. We're going to hold down on the paint bucket until we get to the gradient tool. And from the gradient tool, we're going to pick on the tool options at the top, we're going to pick the one in the very upper left, which is a 2-color gradient, 100% to 100%. Then we're going to double click on that so that we can actually select the colors. And what I like to do is pick a blue, a pretty bright blue, as my first color. So I can do that a few ways. I'm going to go here, pick the color, change from only web colors to all colors. Pick a fairly bright blue. And then for the end color, I like to pick that from my cloud reference. I'm going to pick kind of a darker blue right from my cloud. So that's the kind of gradation I get. I say OK, and I'm going to paint this gradation across my sky at the angle that I decide. So I'm going to start here and just go at a slight angle and drop it at the bottom. If I don't like how that works, I can change the angle. But it's a linear gradation between these two blues. And if those two blues seem too extreme, you can always adjust them. So I can lighten up my end color a little bit.